Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday morning. We are here at the Barrett household. So we decided to be a little bit safe and, not drive into our office. But welcome. Hopefully, everybody is kind of hunkered down and didn't have to get on the roads.
Yeah, needless to say, we didn't have to do that now. I will say part of the benefits of having a team is having Maura live in the same neighborhood as our brand new listing that went live at 0100 this morning over in Springbrook Forest. So she has already been over there. The lights are on, and showings are starting right now, and we are booked solid. So check out that new listing at 9211 Kristen Lane. You'll hear about that later today. It's a beautiful listing, and the show must go on. We're like the mailmen.
I know. And if you don't want to go out in the cold weather, we're going to be there this weekend, so you can come meet us in person if you don't know us already.
Two.
I know. You're going to be there on Saturday. I'm going to be there on Sunday, 2 to 4. Live in person, and then we're actually each going to do a Facebook Live open house
from 1:30 to 2
on each day.
Check it out. It's a great one. Virtual tours available.
This is the one where it has that beautiful big window in the back that looks out over
Long Branch Park.
I know, it's really
just
pretty.
Beautifully updated. They just redid everything in the last basically 5 years. Kitchen is wide open. 2018 kitchen. We'll talk about it later. I've got a slide.
Yeah.
All right. So what's happening in the world today?
Well, me getting over here was kind of funny. So we literally, I could walk to Tracey's house. I chose not to walk to Tracey's house this morning. It's cold outside, and how do I know this? Because I took a little bit of an advantage of not having to get up and go into the office, so I slept in a little bit, but I didn't have time to defrost my windshield, so I literally now know what it feels like to be a dog sticking their head out the window because I was driving down the road.
Mascara.
I was driving down the road with my head sticking out. But I got here safe and sound. I am going to take a minute and defrost my windshield before I go.
That's probably a wise idea. We can get that started.
So, but yeah, other than that, and then we made spring break plans.
Yes.
Which I'm so excited for because they say that you actually have more of the happy endorphins actually leading up to your traveling than you do even while you're on your trip. So that has kicked in, and luckily I'm thankful because what happened was we actually booked our spring break trip, which we weren't planning on doing, but we were like, you know what, we're just going to do it. We booked it, Wednesday night. Mm-hmm. So waking up yesterday to all the sleet and snow made me a little bit happy because I looked at my husband and I was like, you know what makes this okay? The fact that we're going to be gone in 5 weeks.
So lucky you.
I know. And you guys are going away too.
We are. We're going to, what are we doing? We just got some family time that we're going to spend together at the beach. So it'll be a really good time.
Yeah.
Really good time.
I'm excited.
So what else is happening in the world? You are our go-to what's happening.
Yes.
So tell us.
So Dr. Fauci has come out with some fantastic news for us. He says that fans not definitely, but fairly certain that fans can be in the seats for the Nats games coming up. He said that, late spring, early summer restrictions are probably going to be loosening, so people are going to be able to get out and about and start doing stuff. And I also know that Virginia just announced that they can have 250 people at outdoor events coming up soon.
Okay.
So that is, everybody still needs to be careful and safe, but if everybody does it, we're going to be able to get out a little bit more. So that's super exciting.
I miss live sports. I really do. I didn't realize how much I really and truly enjoyed them, but we're a season ticket holder for the Caps with a bunch of friends, and then just going to the Nats games and all of that. I mean, heck, our company does the Nats game over Father's Day weekend, and I miss it, so I'm really looking forward to just the camaraderie of the community. It's going to be great.
I miss concerts.
Oh my God, I so do too. 2020 was going to be an epic concert thing.
I know.
But, we had 5 different concerts we were all going to be going to, and they all got canceled. So what else is happening in the world?
So what else is happening? Metro stations are getting new escalators. I know that's not as exciting as
first
getting
it's
out.
Wi-Fi, now it's escalators.
I know, and now
next?
that we're going to be able to go somewhere, we can actually get back on the metro station, so we want to have working escalators. So it is a $179 million 7-year-long project that is starting in May. Good. So there's going to be new escalators going in, and hopefully, maybe with ridership down a little bit. You know, it's going to
It'll go
maybe
quickly.
get them to work quickly. So that's kind of
Well,
exciting.
It's also nice to see that the WMATA tax that all of our sellers are paying
Oh my God, I know.
to the tune of $1 per $1,000 of sales price is being
going
put to
somewhere.
work. So, yay!
I know. So we have that. Also, on the home front, rent forbearance has just come out a little bit more. They've put out new guidelines, new funds have come available. So it's $524 million in funds, in federal funding.
Right.
And that's to assist tenants and landlords
Right.
with their rent payments. And that can actually, these funds can date back to April 1st and also can be used for a future 3-month period. So that's nice.
So when I was doing my CE the other day for my broker's license, it was great. They had the legal line attorney for NVAR, the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors, jumped on, and he made a really good point. And I didn't realize that this was an option, but with regard to that. And I don't think landlords know this because I've had a couple conversations in the last week or two where if the tenant is not doing the application for the forbearance and assistance, the rent assistance, the landlord can do that on behalf so that they aren't going into default on their mortgages because they're the ones that are actually being done.
Right.
And what's nice is that that then gets applied to the tenant. So the tenant can't double dip,
Right.
but the landlord can apply with notice, and there's several steps that have to be done. So if you need this, please contact us and we'll get you the information.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if you're a landlord who's struggling because your tenant is unable to pay the rent, then you can get money through this program and relief that's then applied to that tenant, cuts them off essentially. You get paid and everybody's made whole from that perspective. There's more to it. If you have more questions, contact us. I don't want to do that all right here. But
Right. That's
definitely, it's something that's important, and their help is on the way.
Right.
Help is on the way.
Help is on the way.
Right.
And then for those of you who are traveling, or maybe either for work or for pleasure, Reagan National's 14-gate concourse is set to open as soon as April 20th. So what that is doing, I don't know if you've flown out of National
It's
in a
been
while.
forever since I've flown out of National. We're so close to Dallas.
So there was this one thing about a year or so ago about how, so basically it's where you go to a concourse, you have to get on a bus that takes you to the remote, like to get onto the airplane and everything, and it was just this like fiasco, like think Northern Virginia traffic jam at the airport, and there was a funny,
haha.
well, an interesting thing where one of the things that happened was actually in National, I guess, Trump and Robert Mueller actually had bumped into each other. So anyway, but so that new concourse is supposed to open on April 20th. So gone are the days of that fiasco. I wish it would have opened sooner because I actually have to go through there in March, and I'm like, man,
you have a story to tell.
it would have been nice if I could have gotten in there
experience
before. Yeah. So, and then out in Loudoun. So this is something that's going to be I have noticed, and I'm going to talk more about this other one probably next week. But Loudoun's really into their cars.
Yeah.
So Gas Haas, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So this is by Rick Urban. He is looking at, by spring of 2022, bringing in this $22 million Loudoun venue. And it is going to be kind of everything. It's a social club, a high-end car display and storage, restaurant, a beer garden, event space, even possible music venue.
So we have the one in Tyson's that we talked about a week or two ago,
Hall.
the Capital One Hall, and now we've got this one out in Loudoun.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, but this one's interesting because it has a lot of
a car spin.
Well, that
makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of collectible cars in the area, and it is one of those things. And I grew up in the National MGA Register, granted not Ferrari, but
Right.
but British cars nonetheless. Go Namgar. So it really is a tribe of people, and I can see where it's going to have a ton of traction.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just tell people about it now. So also, I just heard that out in Loudoun, I think it's a $15 million project where it's going to be Aston Martin dealership kind of thing that's going to be opening up out there as well very soon. Like I think they just broke ground on it.
And we should post about that. We'll do a story. Stay tuned. We'll
Yes,
do a top 3 takeaway. You guys can check it out.
So yeah, so that's kind of what we have happening. I wanted to keep it a little bit short because we're really going to focus on some stuff that's happening in the real estate market, or a lot of conjecture that's happening in the real estate market.
Conjecture indeed. So if you go on to our Hot and Fresh news page, you're going to see that we did put up our Northern Virginia Association of Realtors market update for the region. However, on Friday, they do the Keeping Current Matters interview every other week on the Tom Ferry blog. That means nothing to you if you're not a real estate agent. That said, they were talking about the market. There's been a lot of talk about, is this a bubble? What's going to happen with forbearance? What's going to be happening with the foreclosures, etc. So I really thought we would take the time to share this with you and get into it. What you're going to see behind Lynn and I here is that you're seeing that at the beginning of the year last year, we were on a trajectory that was very similar to what's happening this year.
Yeah, so right here, this is March.
That's March 13th.
Yes, March 13th.
Boom. Needless to say, what ended up happening is things kind of took a small pause and then immediately started a V-shaped recovery. This right here is Christmas, New Year's. That's normal with the biorhythm of real estate. We see that all the time. So the reality is that we have 4 components: the demand, the supply, the price, and time on market. And all of that taken into consideration, you're seeing a beautiful recovery to right back where we were pre-pandemic. In addition to that, this gets into demand. With the purchase applications, you're seeing a year-over-year difference in the positive. Again,
this is the right when COVID first hit.
People were scared. They didn't know what was going to happen. They weren't really jumping into the market. So there was a little bit of a dip there. But again, you're just seeing this steady percent year-over-year difference. This is 30% here, this line. So you're seeing about 25% up year-over-year and seasonally adjusted going throughout the year. So now you're looking at inventory. You're hearing people say again, over and over again, we need listings, we need listings, we need listings. We have 8 in the pipeline. No, 9. 9 in the pipeline that's going to be coming out over the next probably 8 weeks, all throughout the region. So it's coming. The sellers are getting there. They wanted to get rid of this snow and stuff before it happens for most of them. But what you're seeing is the green line are new listings, fresh sellers getting out on the market, looking to sell right away. This represents listings that are a little bit older, taking longer to go. And what you're seeing is, generally speaking, it's below the demand. So it's actually less people are coming on the market year over year. And then what you're also seeing too is a complete dip of the actual inventory itself. So where the new listings come on and get snatched up, you're starting to see purchasers go ahead and buy up the ones that are a little less desirable. Maybe they're overpriced and needed to have some sort of pricing adjustment. But we're now in this critical dip where we are more than 40% below the year-over-year inventory, which is where you're seeing this demand in these simple economics.
Right.
So now let's talk about forbearance. For those of you that aren't familiar with forbearance, we're throwing around the term. I did put the definition right here. By the way, if you want these slides, go ahead and message us and we'll get you the link to them. That's not a problem. You can study them yourselves. They're really dive deep, and Keeping Current Matters out of Richmond is fabulous.
It is.
By the way, this is all national data. The act of refraining from exercising a legal right, especially enforcing the repayment of debt. That's what we're looking at. So here's what happened. With forbearance at the left, or my right, the left on the screen.
Right here in the red.
The red. That was after COVID. And essentially what happened is you had a whole bunch of people that were furloughed, laid off, went into unemployment, etc. And they were worried. And
so this is end of May through August.
Yeah. And what you saw them do is they essentially said, we're going to need help. Please help us. We need to go into forbearance. And then as things started to recover and come out of it, you started to see that number drop. And now, starting in October, you're now seeing kind of a steady state of the number of mortgages that are currently in forbearance. I'm going to go to my notes for a second because I don't want to forget anything. Right now, what this looks at right here is there is about 2.7 million mortgages that are in forbearance, and it's holding steady. That's a scary number when you hear it absolute. So what they did is they broke it down a little bit further, and we're going to go ahead and digest and unpack these numbers a bit. I hate that term, and I can't believe I just said that.
Well, and again, these are all national numbers.
Correct. This is not Northern Virginia. This is national numbers. So looking at my notes and looking here in the pie pan, really good thing. Out of all the people, so the 2.7 million that are in forbearance, 51% are on their way out and are getting ready to pay in full and not have an issue. Either they made their monthly payments before their forbearance period ended, they either paid off their loan altogether, or their past due payments were then brought current. These folks are no longer in trouble and we don't have that issue. They're not part of that inventory anymore, that 2.7. In the meantime, you now have 33%, so 1 in 3 of those mortgages. Those folks are working out a repayment plan, and that's divided up through loan deferral. They tacked the missed payments onto the end, their mortgagors were able to work with them, or they did some sort of loan modification. But again, they're not missing payments and they are working through the issue. Again, they're not in trouble. Now we have 15%, 15.3% that are still in progress, still having some issues. There is a no loss mitigation plan, or they are getting really they're much further down the road where there's going to be a foreclosure or a short sale or something along that line where they need to get in there and make that happen. Going to our next slide, you're going to see a whole lot of words. And so those of you that are on a teeny tiny screen, I'll go ahead and read this to you. According to the Mortgage Bankers Association research from July 2020, when borrowers began exiting the program through the end of the year, 87%, so this is just reiterating what we just saw, 87% of those folks got out and did so with a repayment plan in place, their loans reinstated, their missing payments deferred to the end of the loan, paid off their loan, or had a loan modification in place. These are all positive outcomes that don't necessarily mean we're going to have this massive influx of inventory into the market.
Yeah.
Of the ones that remain, 13% that remain, those homeowners who left the program without a repayment plan, left forbearance without a repayment plan, are the ones who are probably going to be the most at risk of going into default, ergo the inventory into the market. Of these, now, if these numbers remain consistent, that's about 325,000 properties, people. So let's humanize this, because I think that's important. We're talking properties, but this is nationwide. We've got 325,000 people who will exit the forbearance program over the next 6 to 9 months, because the moratorium is still in place, without some sort of plan in place. And that is where those are the people who are most likely to default. So out of 2.7 million mortgages that are in forbearance, we're really looking at 325,000 mortgages nationally that are going to have an issue. Yeah. So going a little bit further, and this was really good data that they gave us as well yesterday, not yesterday, but with the actual blog itself. What is interesting on this one, and let me look at it, hang on.
So
we'll get to it.
Right. Well, this one is about the fact that people, the good thing with these numbers, or the good thing about these numbers, is the people who are in this process of forbearance, they have equity in their home.
I wanted to go there in a second, but what I was going to say is, as far as put things into perspective, with 25,000 mortgages looking at forbearance once we come out of the mortgage moratorium, what you're going to see is, prior to COVID, that was about 200. That number was 200,000. Right. So yes, it's an increase, but to put it in perspective, it's not as enormous as the headlines are making it sound. And this is where what you were just going to say is really, really important. When you look at what's here, and you look at the actual loan ratio versus equity in the mortgage, take it.
Right, yeah. So 60% of those 41% of them have 60% or greater, you know, so 90% of them have at least 11% of equity in their home, which means even if they do have to put their home on the market, they're not taking a loss. They have equity. So that is one thing that definitely sets it apart a lot from what we saw during the recession and what caused that. And we're actually going to be jumping into that.
So the strong equity is important, and the take home of this slide is you've got 80% of the people out there with 20% or more, and 90% with 11% or more of their equity. So we're in a very different place where people actually have value in their home.
Right.
So the big question, are we in a bubble? Well, I can tell you that it is a freaking brutal market out there for buyers. And we've talked about how we've been able to win deals, but the reality is we lose them too. The last one this weekend, it was tough. They had like 15 or 16 offers. My people went to bat, but they can't compete with all cash offers.
Exactly. Yeah, there was one I was talking to another agent, 21 offers in 2 days.
Right. It's insane.
It is. It's insane.
So,
and it's happening everywhere.
Right. So are we in a bubble? Because we're seeing massive appreciation.
Right. So you're gonna see a lot of headlines, and the biggest thing I can tell you is read the actual article. Don't just read the headline, because yes, it seems that we're in a bubble. It feels that way if you were in the market or anything during the recession. So I was in media. I was a real estate editor during the recession nationwide. So I covered it. And so people will ask me a lot. They're like, is it the same? No, it is not the same. It's not the same for one major reason. Is the reason that we went into a recession was because of the housing market, because people were getting loans that they could not afford. Everybody who is in the market right now is able to afford and pay these payments if they are able to ratify on a purchase.
Right. So you were seeing adjustable rate mortgages. You were seeing people who were making $60,000 a year buying $800,000 houses because they had an interest-only loan that ballooned and came due in 5 years, and they were being set up for failure.
Right.
What's important here, tying it back to the forbearance issue, is we have a mortgage moratorium. It's actually a dip in the number of foreclosures that are happening right now because they can't do it. Federally, they cannot do it. When those are lifted, you are going to start to see super scary headlines where foreclosures are tripling, doubling, scary stuff. But you have to remember that there's this pent-up demand, and those foreclosures that are happening are long-term. So keep that in mind. And Lynn's favorite mantra about headlines is
read the damn article.
Read the whole article.
Read the whole thing.
Find out what's going on.
Because you want to have that information. A headline, yes, is there to grab your attention, but you have to read the headline, or you have to read the whole article to actually get the information.
Right.
So we're gonna
David Childers' quote over at Keeping Current Matters was, "Headlines are there to terrify, not clarify."
Right.
So pay attention.
Okay. So historically speaking, it's a historical 3.8% increase year over year in regard to sales price. What we're at now, this is us right here. So yes, we are a little bit above that. But the reason we're up here, we're about 1% over.
Right. So this is where that breaks down.
Historical speaking. But if you go back, the reason that people are freaking out is because this right here is that leading up to the recession. You know, that housing market, that housing bubble, to where you can see that it was highly, highly over what that historical average is. Again, this entire scenario was based on the fact that people who could not afford mortgages were getting them. And that was bringing up a lot of that sales price because more buyers were in the market. And as you can see, it dipped down, and we were growing, coming back up to that historical norm. We are a little bit above that. We are about 1% over that historical norm. So Case-Shiller is a big index that is looked at, as is FHFA. So what they're seeing is year-over-year home price gains. Case-Shiller has it at about 9.5%. FHFA has it at about 11, so right around that 10%.
Just say 10%.
10%
on average.
But when you actually put it into terms looking at the recession or pre-recession, you know, it's only really about a 1% over what that historical norm is.
So it's not as scary as it sounds.
Right. So now these are all the different forecasts for what they are expecting to give you a better idea. So like we just said, 2020 had about a 10% sales price incce.
And specifically to Northern Virginia, our region, and I mean I'm talking region, like get down into Fredericksburg, all of that, was about what would you say? It was like 9.5%, right around that area, but like 9-10%.
Yeah. So, and what they're actually projecting moving forward is actually only about 5%. Freddie Mac has it at 5.4% for 2021. So they're actually, forecasters are even calling for a slowdown.
Yep.
And what's happening is, the reason they're saying that is because all these gains in these sale prices, which if you're a buyer or a seller know, and you see that happening, everyone is in agreement. That is not sustainable. Right. And what's going to happen is the slowdown that we're going to get is not only because inventory is really low, but it's because buyers are going to be priced out of the market. So it doesn't matter what these mortgage interest rates are. If you can't get a place, they're going to come out of the market, which is then going to start making it level off. So they are expecting to still see an increase in sales prices 2021, right, even maybe going into 2022, but it's going to start decreasing because it's not sustainable.
Right, and that's where they basically said, I mean, it's going to be a couple of factors. A, the buyers are getting priced out of it. B, interest rates likely will pop up a little, yep, which will then also help level what's happening out there. And then C, you are going to see that inventory pop out a little bit once the foreclosures and things happen, but it's a skosh compared to everything else. This isn't right, a big influx like what happened back in 28.
Well, and here's the other thing, because one conversation I have a lot with people is what is causing this inventory issue. And I mean, I can't speak nationwide, but in regard to this, I can speak to Northern Virginia is, so if you look at what timeline we're on, so the recession hit, nobody was doing anything 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011 is when things started to churn again. Developers, if they are to buy property to develop into larger tracts of residential, that is a 10-year process.
Right.
It is, you have to find the land, you have to purchase the land, you have to get it through zoning, you have to prep the land ready for build out. Where are we right now?
10 years.
We are 10 years out. So
right. Builders are catching up and
are catching up. You see it across Northern Virginia. Now, this is not going to be the same. You are not going to see these South Riding, Willowsford massive tracts of 200 single family homes in a neighborhood. You're going to see these smaller ones.
Infill.
Right, but what you are seeing though is you're seeing actually more somewhat affordable housing because they're going to be condos, townhomes coming in, filling into these areas. I mean, for instance, Fairfax City, right where Paul VI High School, there's going to be 200 some homes just in that one spot.
Right.
So inventory is going to be coming on the market that way as well because this is now when those builders are actually building out, and you can see that across the region by checking out our development page because we break down and we go into what's coming. And then also, unfortunately, that 15% of people who are in forbearance, if they can't get it worked out, those are going to be coming into the market as well.
So the good news for those people who are in a horrible situation is this. We've got the supply and the demand here. As your inventory back in 2008, or 10 rather, was higher than the actual demand. Inventory went down, prices went up. This is basic economics.
Right.
There it is. So, and the good news is that this demand that you're seeing here is legit real. We talked about this again. The people are qualified for their mortgages and they can go buy it and they should be able to afford their homes.
And one thing I do want to point out, which we forgot to say a minute ago, is you mentioned that, mortgage rates are expected to increase. People or forecasters, bankers, mortgage lenders, everybody, they're actually looking, the bigger hit on that is going to be less refinances, but not really less purchases happening. So it's going to be more of a hit on the refinance market.
Right, which I was having an anecdotal conversation with Graham Pruitt over at Intercoastal Mortgage yesterday, and that's exactly what he's seeing. He's starting to see the refi fall off, mainly because everybody's already done it, and you've got the stragglers who are now just like, oh, it's 2%, I should refi.
Right.
So long story short, that will fall off, and it's going to be, we're going to be there for that. So let's go to here where we've got our buyer supply, our buyer's market versus seller's market.
Yeah, so this is just another indicator as to why this is not what happened in the recession. So leading up to the recession, 2006 and everything, so this was still a buyer's market, and you still saw sale prices rising, as opposed to now we're in a seller's market. And that's where you're seeing. So this is like you just said, this is basic economics right here.
Yep.
That is what is, it drives everything. It drives it, as opposed to during the recession time, even though it was a buyer's market where typically you get better deals, that was not happening back in the recession.
Precisely. And here's the good news for everybody that's having an issue, is that right now, the underwater issue is that if you look at the folks that were underwater then, it was 25%. 1 in 4 mortgages in 2010 were underwater. Today, 3% of those mortgages are underwater.
Again,
Nationwide. So 1 in 4. This is a staggering difference between then and now. So again, that's why we're not in a bubble, according to Keeping Current Matters, Tom Ferry, etc. So again, if you want to look at this and really drill down more, we're happy to take this offline with you and talk about it and get you the slide deck. But yeah, Keeping Current Matters is out of Richmond. They do national data, and it's really a nice, non-biased way to look at the data and see what's happening across the nation, and economically speaking, what's happening. The other one I like is George Mason's Regional for Data Analysis.
Yep, definitely. Yeah.
So now the fun stuff. What happened last week with
so
Nova?
if you are in the market, we took a look at a $195,000 condo in Reston. Actually, we close on it today at 1 o'clock. I'm headed out there. And this was a great property because it needed updates. But, I mean, my God, look at that price point in Reston, that front parkland. So it is possible to find something. It's just especially in this market, like you had mentioned in the one slide before, of that low inventory. If you want to get in, you have to kind of open your mind to be like, okay, well, if it's in a location I like, maybe I have to put a little bit of work into it. Is that worth it for me to get in on that deal?
Right. So great one, and check it out because it'll break down what your mortgage payments would be, down payment, and monthly carrying costs.
Yes.
Our very own Sharon Ayers went to her favorite place in the whole wide world. Who does not love the Vienna Inn? Did you know that they serve more than chili dogs?
I didn't, because that's usually all I would ever get there.
Well, there you go. Apparently it's quite a great one. Take a look at it. Sharon interviews Marty, the owner, and I think the biggest push here is they are celebrating their 61st anniversary this month, and his goal is to do 1,961 or 60 rather meals to our hometown heroes. It's $10 a meal. Check out the post, go online, and let's feed our heroes and help Marty hit his goal.
Yeah.
This week coming up on Focus on Nova,
we dig into color trends. So everybody's at home, everyone's staring at their walls. You want to know what color to paint them. So we are breaking down what those trends are in regard to color scheme.
Paint swatches in the other room for this room. So
yes,
so I'm looking forward to this one.
Yes, so I'm sure everybody has seen what the colors of the year are, but we're digging a little bit deeper because not everybody wants bright yellow walls.
Bright yellow wall.
So we're going into what
bright yellow wall.
What those are.
Check out what you get for. This is the listing that went live today. $750,000 in the Woodson High School Pyramid of Fairfax's 22032. Graham Pruitt with Intercoastal Mortgage did me a favor and broke down what those mortgage payments look like at 5% down, 10% down, and 20% down. Closing costs as well as carrying costs for the mortgage rate.
Yeah.
Ed Jones.
I know. So, I mean, tax season is going to be here before you know it. So if you are selling your home, Ed, who's both of our CPAs, everyone on our team, he's our CPA. He breaks down, what are those tax implications for selling your home. So that's a very quick watch.
Yep.
It's maybe 2 or 3 minutes long.
Yeah, he went a little longer. It's about 5.
Five
He's
minutes,
entertaining.
Right, 5 minutes to make sure that you have all the information you need about taxes when it comes to selling your home.
Right, and all of this is located on social media as well as our website under Hot and Fresh News. Last but not least, check this out. It's coming out to social media. The virtual Black History Month. It is February, and we are spotlighting something each Friday for what to do. Today, from 7 to 8:30, what are we going to do? Fairfax County is honoring Black History, Perseverance, and Resiliency. Check it out, and you can see that on our actual websites. Upcoming Focus on Nova events. Oh, my listing. It's so great. So lights are on. Maura's already done it. Join us on Facebook Live. Me on Saturday, Lynn on Sunday from 1:30 to 2, and then in person Saturday and Sunday for the in-person open house. Come with masks, be prepared to put booties on, and we're only going to let a few people into the property at a time. But by all means, join us there. You can see right here, the address is 9211 Kristen with an I. .c21stories.com. You can check out the photos. You can check out the virtual tour with including a 3D walkthrough, as well as a narrated video and all of the photos that go there and GPS. This house is spectacular. Open concept floor plan where they opened up the kitchen and
it's so much bigger than it looks.
Oh my gosh, it's a great little property. Yeah, it's very deceiving from the outside on how nice and big it is.
Yeah. Yeah, this Saturday, so we have our seller and buyer seminars. You hosted the one on Thursday. You're going to host the seller one next Thursday. I will be hosting the ones on Saturday morning. So tomorrow, grab a cup of coffee at 9 o'clock. Information to whoever comes. We really want to hone in on what it is that the information they're looking for.
Yep, set curriculum that is totally flexible.
Yep. Things to do this week. All right, so I have finally started a new fitness journey since now I'm actually going somewhere. I was trying to get back in shape. But Be Fit McLean, it is their virtual fitness festival that is happening through March 26th, so you can jump online and get information and do something to be more active. 90s heartthrob Ethan Hawke. I mean, who didn't love him in Reality Bites? Mm-hmm. Kind of taking a page from that, pun intended, I guess.
Actually, I loved him from Dead Poets Society.
I mean, he was just, he was that bad boy that, that everybody wanted.
He was sweet in Dead Poets Society, and then he went all Reality Bites on us.
I know, so anyway, I shouldn't say bad boy, but more like dark. A little bit of a darker soul. But anyway, so Ethan Hawke is speaking about his new book, A Bright Ray of Darkness,
Here we go.
with Politics and Prose on tomorrow night at 7 p.m. It is $29 to $35, but you do get the book. So if you want to check that out, that's something to do. And then, did you watch Bridgerton? Who didn't? Who did not watch Bridgerton, right?
It was great.
So on Sunday at 7 for $12, you can jump on and have a Bridgerton talk with British history expert Julie Tadeo, if I am saying that correctly. She's a professor over at University Maryland at College Park, and she's really going to break down, the color casting, the relationships, that one scene that everybody is talking about, and just the relationships and how accurate, or some of the takeaways that they're getting from that show to what it was in reality. So that's kind of interesting.
That is kind of interesting.
I mean, $12. So we just gave you can go get fit Friday or Saturday morning.
You can then more than Saturday morning.
Watch Ethan Hawke Saturday night, and then watch Bridgerton all day Sunday, and then go get a talk about it Sunday night.
So with that being said, friends, we hope that you have a fabulous, fabulous weekend. If you have any questions about this, hit us up on social media.
Yep.
We can send you that slide deck for all the data, as well as have candid conversations.
Yep.
So
and then come see us on Saturday and Sunday at the open house.
Come by our listing.
Yes. All right.